Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Cow's Den podcast. I am Josh, and with me, as always, is Matt. Say what's up, Matt.
What is up, bitches?
And we do not have Brian today, but in his place, we got a special guest for you. This is Drew.
Yo,
Drew is a local radio DJ here in California, and yeah, he's going to be joining us today. As always, we talk nerdy stuff, we talk comics, movies, pop culture, all that fun stuff. So this week, I've still just got comics like usual. I'm gonna start with you guys know for the past couple of episodes I've been talking how obsessed I've gotten with Robert Kirkman lately. I got hooked on Invincible when the show was coming out. I started reading the comic and just plowed through it. I couldn't stop. And Drew, did you ever get a chance to read any of those comics?
no, the funny thing is that I actually did order the first volume
Yeah,
paperback, and usually lately I've been doing the whole on the iPad Kindle
yeah,
versions of everything because it's actually kind of cool. You can zoom in on panels and
yeah.
stuff like that, like how you would normally read it. But there was something about that run that I was like, I kind of just want to buy the whole
Like a
thing,
physical
a
version,
physical
right?
version of it.
Right. Well, dude, it's incredible. Honestly, if you get into it front to back, it's quite honestly probably my favorite superhero story. I couldn't get enough of it, and so because of that, my brother's been a huge Walking Dead fan and kept telling me, "Oh, you need to read these books. You need to read these books," and I just didn't because if I'm being honest with you, The Walking Dead kind of got overhyped in my opinion. So I kind of that kind of turned me off to it. And then of course
I
after I read Invincible, yeah, go ahead,
well,
Matt.
I strongly suggest off camera you tell Drew the story of toe tag since we brought it up
Oh,
on this
we brought it up
forever.
on here
So
for forever. Well, I don't care. We'll say it again.
yeah.
So me and Matt were actually we went to the same comic shop on the same day. It was the day that The Walking Dead #1 had come out.
Oh, no shit.
And not only that, it was the same day as something else that came out called Toe Tags. Toe Tags was written by George Romero.
Okay.
And so we sat here. Well, he sat here. My brother's he's Matt is a huge zombie fan. He's been George Romero
Huge
fan since
Romero
he
fan,
was
yeah.
yes,
Like
George Romero fan since
gigantic.
he was like a kid. And so he was like, I don't, who the hell is Robert Kirkman? Who's this writer? I have no fucking, no idea who
Right.
this is. What
Yeah.
am I gonna do? I'm gonna take this black and white, no name zombie comic over George Romero, who I know, George Romero. So instead, he grabbed Toe Tags #1. Nowadays, Walking Dead #1 sells for thousands of dollars, and
Shut the fuck up.
Toe Tag sells for $4.
Yeah, that's a
So
dead ass true story, man. Dead
and he's
ass true
still got.
story.
We both still have our
Still
#1
have.
toe tag
Yep.
sitting here,
So
worth
wait,
worth nothing.
if it was #1, how long did it take you to start reading The Walking Dead? Like how many volumes in, or how many comics in? Like the number, like what
For
number did you jump
for
in?
Matt, I didn't read it until recently. Matt, I think you got into it once the show came out, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
once
like
the show
once
came out,
once
you
the show
started reading
came
more.
out, I was like, okay, I'll go back and look at this and realize the massive mistake that I made.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's what happened to
Yeah.
me. That's what happened to me. He kept telling me, "You got to read this. You got to watch the show." And like I said, to me, the show was kind of overhyped in a way, so I didn't get into it. Finally, after I read Invincible, I was like, "All right, I'm gonna check out Walking Dead." And then once again, plowed through it. Just couldn't stop reading it.
I remember hearing the praises of The Walking Dead because I'm like the exact opposite of Matt. I am not a huge zombie fan at all.
Oh,
I
right,
think, oh God, and it's just not my taste. I
right,
understand the appeal of it for a lot of
right.
people, but there was a period in like the late 90s, early 2000s where like every person that was trying to be edgy, and Matt, I'm not implying that this is you at all.
No,
I'm
no,
just saying,
no. I'm agreeing with what you're about to say.
yeah, like every person that was being edgy, or emo, or if
Mhm,
they were like a punk
mhm.
chick, they had like the zombie blank. It was like, I
Right,
have a zombie Jesus, or I have a zombie Marilyn Monroe. It's like,
right.
oh my God, I
Oh
love
yeah, I
zombies.
used to get
And
those for like
that's
Christmas. People would
yeah.
be like, "Oh yeah, here's I have a zombie Marilyn Monroe statue somewhere
Yeah,
actually."
Well, and that's why I always understood where Josh was coming from with The Walking Dead, man, because
But
I hate the show fans. Like
Mhm.
the comic book fans that like the show, I like those fans, but just the show fans, I can't stand them.
They'll complain that the Negan stuff was too violent. When oh my gosh, if you look at the book, it's
If you look at the
100 times
book,
more
it was
100 times more
fucking
violent,
way
right?
worse. No,
Right.
well, but see, the brilliant thing about The Walking Dead, at least I got a feeling of this in the first couple of seasons because I never read the book, but I did go back when 3 seasons were out. I went back and watched the first 2, and I
Right.
was like, all right, so this isn't about zombies.
Right.
This is
Right.
about people.
About
And
human interaction.
yeah,
Yeah.
zombies created the tension
Yep.
in the back of the story, and like that in and of itself was kind of a brilliant take on it, because any other zombie property was about fucking zombies. It
Right.
was
Just
like
surviving. Like,
yeah, getting away or killing the zombies or eradicating the horde or whatever, but Kirkman kind of subverted expectations in terms of what the zombie genre could be, and that's why The Walking Dead as a comic book, the source material was so good. And
Right.
it was almost like a George R.R. Martin thing, which I'm not saying that he copped it from him, but it's like Kirkman would kill off characters.
Right.
Like in this
Right.
comic
As
book,
soon
they
as you're
don't,
getting into somebody, you're like, oh shit, I love this character. All of a
It's-
sudden,
and they don't come back. Like
Right.
they're fucking dead. It's not like
Right.
comic
There's
book
no
logic,
right. Yep.
So
You know,
Well,
the
and
greatest,
yeah,
the
go ahead.
great thing that he just brought up is what we talked about last episode or the episode before, is the fact that they were initially going to do this on HBO, but HBO had Game of Thrones that was in the works at that time, and they didn't want to do 2 massive
And
events.
that's my one complaint about the show. Matt's one complaint too is that the only thing about the show is that you can't
not one
go
complaint.
full-
Not
well,
one
okay.
complaint, but yeah.
The
main-
biggest complaint is
yeah.
the fact that
Carl!
you can't quite go. Coral.
That was the worst decision
Coral.
in TV history, in my
He's
opinion,
killing
killing
off
Carl.
Yeah, well.
why do
and
you think they
spoiler
did
alert,
that?
so yeah, we do talk spoilers
So,
in here.
well,
Why do you think they did it?
I think it goes back to the producers at the time, which is why they were shit canned,
Right.
and they brought in the old producers back. But I can tell you this, in my opinion, and Josh agrees, that it really kicked Kirkman into saying, I'm done with the comic.
Right.
If you look at the timing, it was as he was like
And-
getting towards the end of writing the Whisperers War, and it gave him an out. It gave Andrew Lincoln an out.
Mhm.
It gave Kirkman an out from the comic. And I think
building-
it just blew up everything.
I was telling my wife about that because she's reading the comics too, and I was like, look, I don't mean to spoil anything for it because she's just at Negan right now. And I was like, I don't mean to spoil anything for it, but man, you can tell that it's build up, and then suddenly it's over. Like, and it sucks because like that's the only reason why personally I like Invincible more, is because Invincible, you could tell he built the last 12 issues building towards the ending, and you could tell that he was.
You can also tell towards the end of the Whisper Wars, like it was devastation. It just kind of like the ending was like, and then it, get into whatchamacallit, the Ohio. What is it called?
The Commonwealth. Yeah, Commonwealth.
You could tell that he was, I think he found out that they were going to do that, and he just kind of went.
Well, and they're trying to squeeze every single last dollar out of that property, and
of course,
they just kind of overdid it with spinoffs and this and that. But I read the final.
Matt's a big fan of Fear the Walking Dead.
Really,
and that's actually what I'm going to talk about. I'm a fan of what they've done with it now. Like the beginning was the middle was good. Then they killed off Nick, which was horrible.
Right.
And then, it was kind of bad again. But now, and I thought it was going to be a bad decision, but when they brought over, in my opinion, Morgan and
Morgan's from The Walking Dead,
Dwight, Morgan and Dwight into Fear, it's actually gotten a lot better. Yeah. Morgan, Dwight, and Sherry, which messes up one of my favorite storylines of the Whisperers War, which is Sherry and Rick having to kill Sherry. Like that was pretty brutal. But like I Fear's gotten a lot better. I will say that. Now the Beyond, man, that first season was, I did not like that, man.
Yeah.
Like it's an emo version of the Walking Dead. It's but I will say that I think that either World Beyond or Fear the Walking Dead is going to create the Western Alliance, which at the end
spoken of at the end, but
yeah,
literally only mentioned, and you never hear anything more about it.
And that's why I think Kirkman was going to explore that, because like at the very end on issue 193, when you meet Eugene, when Carl goes and meets up with Eugene, he says we're putting in the last rails to connect to the Western Alliance.
Yeah.
And you never find out what
that's
that is.
That's all you hear about him.
Yeah, I did actually go and I read the final comic of The Walking Dead, because I was just interested, because I'll go back but I want to see how he tied it up.
Right.
And I remember reading his foreword, right? In Kirkman's foreword, he talks about how he was going to end the series way before this volume.
Oh yeah, it was supposed to be, Matt, you're muted. It was supposed to be like 170 or something like that, or no, it was supposed to be like 140 or something like that. Yeah, no, yeah, he talked about 71 or something. It was supposed to be before Negan came. He was going to cut it.
Well, he was actually contemplating also after Negan came, actually having Negan win.
Yeah.
He was talking about ending it on a bad, kind of like almost like the unhappy ending, right? To show like the tragic side of humanity. And again, trying to subvert expectations, but he even mentions the fact that like he's glad that he didn't, because he got to grow through it. You know what I mean? And the way you want to end these properties changes almost as you grow.
And I mentioned this again before, but I'm going to tell Drew real quick. I actually got to meet the guy. I met him at San Diego Comic-Con. I met Robert Kirkman. And one of the first things I asked him, it was in 2019, the year that he ended it. And one of the first things I asked him, I was like, why, dude? Why'd you just up and end it? And he goes, well, I like surprises. I like to surprise people. So I just figured surprise everybody and end it. And I was like,
he's such a good dude, such a good writer.
Oh, he's such a nice guy, honestly. If you meet him, if you ever do get a chance to meet him. We kind of strayed a little off here though, because we kept going on Walking Dead. I was just gonna say that I did finally finish up Walking Dead. Obviously, I also plowed through the Here's Negan and Negan Lives and the Alien as well. One thing I haven't read is the Governor special. Which I would love to read more about the Governor, which I believe that kind of like
Road to Woodbury.
I don't know. It's just called the Governor's Special. There's one. I have an issue called the Governor's Special. But
you should read the book, The Road to Woodbury.
Right, and see, I wonder if that's like the season 4 kind of like it kind of gives a little bit of his. Yeah, I don't know.
A little bit, but you find out that he's not. He took his brother's name. Like there's a whole
big that he's not really. Yeah. That wasn't really his name. Anyway, so yeah, so then I'm caught up on season 4 of The Walking Dead. That's about as far as I've gotten on the show.
You can stop there.
Yeah.
You can stop right there.
Now the only reason I'm not is because I love Jeffrey Dean, and I think I thought from the moment he was cast that he was a perfect casting.
Oh, I thought it was great. But like, again, you're talking about squeezing every single last bit of something out of a story that should technically have a beginning, middle, and end. Like what some of these producers don't understand about these properties is that you have the arguably perfect source material groundwork. Right. The story is fucking written. Okay.
Right.
Like it's the without going on a rant, because I don't want to be that shitty asshole, but there is a problem with the Hollywood interpretation of the need to meet a really wide range of audience members in order to get
meeting the core fans.
And listen, I get it. You run a business, you're trying to make money. That's capitalism. I get it. You're not in the business of losing money. You want to, you want to sell it. So, but they dumb down a lot of these properties in order to make it palatable to a wide range of audiences.
Right.
And it's a big hit or miss. It's either going to be too cheesy and shitty, which I'll talk about that later when I cover what I'm talking about, or it's going to be great. Like, I think that there just needs to be a risk taken by Hollywood and these producers and just do a very honorable adaptation of a series.
In all honesty, I think Invincible does that. Now, Invincible, what they did, the story arc that they contained in the first season technically takes place in the first 12 or so issues. But then they pull a few things from like the first 15 to 20 issues, maybe a little further than that, just to kind of fill space. But it's all still there.
Yeah.
Like it's a little out of order, but it's all still there and it's all still happening. And in my opinion, it's one of the truest to the comics in terms of the show.
If you look at it, it's really because animated, they can afford to lose anybody.
And because
they
don't
Amazon have to pay as much.
Right.
Well, you don't have to pay the actors as much. And if somebody leaves, you can replace them with a similar voice. Whereas you can't replace somebody like with their face and everything like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely true, man. Like they just don't take chances. I say animated's been the closest thing. Think about the DC movies. The DC animated movies have been great.
Oh yeah, and now that they've kind of tipped the scales to really go with that R rating too. Yeah.
Well, I am 100% in on Invincible. Like 100% in. When I went and watched it, I was like, "Holy shit!"
Even just that first episode, man. Yeah.
My only inherent problem is actually with Amazon because they didn't sell it. Right.
The marketing for it was like nowhere.
And if you look at the cast, it is so goddamn stacked.
So stacked.
The cast is stacked. The nature of what it is not really hinted at all too well in terms of drawing people in. It's that kind of like, hey, sell it to a wide audience kind of thing. It looks almost like, and this isn't to say anything bad about like the DC animated movies and stuff like that, but it looks like a DC animated movie.
Right.
And if you watch the first 29 minutes of the first episode, right before the ending, or the first 40 minutes or whatever, you think this is a run-of-the-mill take on Superman kind of, whatever. It's not until like
a knockoff Justice League. Yeah.
Right. When you see, oh shit.
Yep.
This is what it is. You know? And I think it's either one of two things. It's either a brilliant move because they're relying on word of mouth to spread the word about Invincible, to have an organic kind of taking and following, or they just didn't know how to sell the property. Like this is bloodier than fuck all. This is a complex kind of story.
That's the thing too, is it's deep. It's deeper than it looks. And I think,
which is crazy because they have the boys, like they knew what they had. They just didn't. Yeah, I agree.
But it did get renewed for season 2 and 3. So I mean,
they
had to have done something right.
Second episode or something,
right?
Well, think about all of the stuff that I was able to get at the comic book store here that you didn't even know existed.
Oh, right.
As far as the special stuff.
Yeah, they had a bunch of marketing stuff. They actually released an issue, a reprint of issue 1 for Invincible with like Amazon tagged all over it, just so you can be like, go watch the show. And
I do appreciate that though.
Right.
Like, I appreciate that they are trying to reach a core audience, because Invincible had actually a pretty valiant run as far as how many
144 issues. Yeah,
that's a big run. It's it's an
like
Image book, right?
Yeah. Image.
So
it's kind of what got that, and Walking Dead got Kirkman to start Skybound, which is like a subsidy of Image. So it's like Image / Skybound.
What I was talking about though, Josh, was think about that little sewing kit.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is here we didn't get any of the promo stuff, but out there he got all kinds of promo stuff when he bought the comic.
Think about that number. Like they didn't even pump that number. Like
I don't have it in front of me.
I bet you Drew doesn't even know about this. Like that's the crazy thing.
So when he bought this, so when he bought this, there you go. When he bought that comic, one of the things it came with was a little sewing kit, which this is the guy I can barely see it there, but Taylor Shop. This is Art Rosenbaum. He's the guy who designed
but they weren't out in California at all.
He designed the suits, like the costumes for Invincible. And so there's actually a phone number on there, 888-686-7591. And if you called that number, it's too late now, but if you called that number, he'd be like, hey, this is the Taylor Shop. I'm Art Rosenbaum. And if you
is it Mark Hamill doing the voice?
No, I don't think it is. I think it was like a woman or something, wasn't it? Thanks for calling the Taylor Shop. I don't know, but either way, it's like it says, hey, if you want to leave your name and phone number and email address, you could win a stack of comics signed by Robert Kirkman.
That's
like, but it was cool because it was a marketing that like this was the only way you knew about it.
Yeah,
the only way you found out about it was this little pin. If you like this little sewing kit set, if you bought the comic.
Whereas most people had no idea that it even existed. You know?
Exactly.
No, and that's the one thing I kind of knew tangentially about Invincible, because Invincible and I think it was Locke and Key was going on around the same time. So I would look at like reading lists on some like YouTubers and stuff like that, like what they're reading to get it in on like some new comics that are good to like check out and read. And I remember hearing about Invincible, right? And I knew
I remember hearing about it, but it never, yeah.
And I knew from the get that this is a very kind of adult and gory comic. Like I knew that. So when I saw the marketing stuff, I knew. Like I knew what the kind of what it was going to be.
Oh, they released a trailer. One of the trailers, they kind of released like a PG trailer, and then they released like a Red Band trailer. And when I saw that Red Band trailer, I was like, "Yep, sold. That's it. I'm doing it." That was actually when I saw that first trailer. Was when I just like, screw it, I'm going to try to read all the comics, and I just plowed through them. Couldn't stop reading them. So real quick though, because I'm going to switch it over to Drew here in a minute, but I want to do my comics for the week. This past week, we had the return of Something's Killing the Children, one of my favorite comics. He was on a bit of a hiatus for a little bit, but it's back, issue 16. So grab that one. It's actually the origin of the main character, Erica Slaughter. We got Batman 109, definitely recommend. Crush and Lobo's a new series. It's about Lobo and his daughter, Crush. DC is running a Conjuring comic, which started this week. It's issue 1. I have not read it yet, but if you like the horror stuff, Conjuring. We got Justice League 62. Brian Michael Bendis is back on Justice League, and it's been an awesome story so far. It's been the past couple issues. They're bringing in Black Adam, trying to mix him into the Justice League, which is pretty cool the way they're doing it. Oh, and then Kirkman, what I was trying to get at with Kirkman, ended up straying a little bit, is his new series, Firepower, throwing up the thing there, is up to issue 12 now, and it's like a celebratory big issue because they hit the full year run so far. It's been releasing one per month. Also, for Image, Scott Snyder is doing, this guy right here, if you see the picture, comics called Nocterra. It's like Earth is in darkness. The only way you can stay alive is to stay in the light. So you got to keep light on wherever you're at.
That's interesting.
It's pretty cool. It's actually a pretty interesting story. Scott has a good idea of post-apocalyptic type stories. And then those are my recommendations for the ones that came out this past week. Next week, this coming Wednesday, it's going to be actually DC. DC's running their big Pride celebration this week. They got a big fat comic full of LGBTQ creators, and it's supposed to be like this oversized 100-page comic, all LGBTQ creators, and a bunch of, I'm not sure if all the characters they're running are going to be LGBTQ, but I know it's like a creator, writer, artist spotlight on a bunch of LGBTQ creators. So,
and that's funny because you see a lot of people, like a lot of brands hashtag brands jumping in the whole Pride thing, and it's it's very money motivated. But if you look at comics in particular, they've been leading this years.
I feel like comics have almost been like the foundation for stuff like this. Like they've always been kind of the way to, like, Captain America was originally created to fight Nazis. Like that's the point. He was a propaganda creation in a way,
it's so funny because I saw this thing break down kind of Marvel and Stan Lee in particular, and how he kind of tried to push social change through characters and representation. And this is back in like the 60s and 70s, man.
Yeah,
like
of course. Yeah.
There's
when that shit was certainly not popular. You know? Right.
And there was a great comic. It's funny that you mentioned DC doing that. It was an Image book. I think it's called The Wicked and the Divine.
Okay.
It's about like gods from ideology, or not ideologies, but like pantheons being reborn into like these people. They just they manifest as like either Lucifer or Zeus or something like that. And they only have 2 years to live. But if you look at that, this was years and years and years ago, before like this stuff was popular. And there is a lot of like, gay and proud kind of characters in it. And I think it's a gay creator and writer, and like they've been doing this stuff for years. So I always fall back on telling people, like, if you want to see kind of this not being kind of, hey, it's a cash grab, go back to some of these like comic books and these earlier properties, because they've been leading the charge on it.
They've been doing it since before it was popular, Yeah. And that's why it always pisses me off whenever you get on some of those websites and their or social media, and people are I don't want my comics to quit shoving that shit down my throat. It's like, dude, they've been the ones doing that from almost from day one.
If you haven't like, if you're so unobservant, you can't see that was being done for decades. It's kind of like all those people I don't even want to like go to politics, but a lot of them like getting mad at Rage Against the Machine, you know what I mean? Or Tom Morello. I'm like, have you not paid attention to what the fuck they've been saying?
I mean, the guy has a college degree in poli science, so it's like he knows what the fuck he's talking about. Like, okay. Anyway. So yeah, I also recommend Joker. Dude, James Tynion. So is the writer of Something's Killing Children. I mentioned him plenty of times on the show. He wrote Something's Killing Children. He's doing the Batman run right now. He's got the Joker comic. He's part of the DC Pride thing. He's just killing it. But he's got the Joker comic, which is technically speaking a Commissioner Gordon comic. It's all about Commissioner Gordon, who is retired now, and the Joker is like, you know what, Commish, you're gonna. So technically, it's a long story. Joker killed Bane.
Mm-hmm.
Now Bane's daughter is hiring Commissioner Gordon to go kill the Joker.
Oh, really?
And that's kind of the story of it.
That's a cool setup.
It is a pretty cool setup. She offered him 25 mil to go kill him. So there's another one called Geiger. Geiger's an Image Comics one. It's Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison's amazing writer. If you've never read any of his stuff, I always recommend checking out Geiger. Issue 3 comes out next week. Kirkman's still running his Oblivion song, but apparently he is building towards the ending for that one. That one's going to be on issue 31 this week, but it's going to be working towards the ending from what I can. Haven't read issue 31 because it's next week, but it says it's building towards the ending. And then last recommendation is Wind, WYND, also from James Tynion, which I was going to mention to Drew. I thought was cool. I tweeted the creators. My son drew a little picture. He's 7 years old.
I saw that. Yeah.
He drew a little picture of one of the characters, and the artist for the comic was actually like, "Hey, have him draw me something. I'll throw it into the next issue." I was like, "What the?" I'm like, really?
That's so crazy, man.
Right? And it's like, I don't know if he's gonna actually do it, but if he does, that'd be cool as hell. That'd be cool as shit.
Can I throw like a one recommendation in that not a lot of people know about, but I think it's just absolutely fantastic?
Of course,
is a comic, one of my favorite books probably ever. It's a comic book called East of West.
West.
It's written by Hickman. It's an Image Comics property. It's about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and kind of like the end of times, but it has a sci-fi western kind of twist on it. And the main kind of like plot line is that Death, the horseman Death, falls in love with the woman and they have a child, and then the other 3 horsemen basically betray him because they don't like the fact that he's okay. And it's about him exacting revenge and all these power grabs and kind of people trying to bring about the end of the world. It is fucking amazing. It's written by Jonathan Hickman, and I love any Hickman product,
so I can make sure I remember that.
It is absolutely fantastic. The art, the writing, it's not as well known of a property, but if you give that one a shot, give it like the 3 run, 3 issue try, see if you like it. It's so good.
My last recommendation, real quick, man, I feel like we're taking a little too long here, but like my last recommendation, I know I push James Tynion so much. He's a writer that I absolutely love, but he just came out with a new DC, it's DC, but it's DC's Black Label, so it's more adult DC. It's another horror story of his. It's called The Nice House on the Lake. It's the idea for it sounded kind of cheesy when I heard about it. Just 12 people get invited to stay at this lake for like a weekend, and then it's I couldn't help but they don't really tell you anything else, so I couldn't help but be like, okay, what is it, some serial killer that we've seen 1,000 times? But no, dude, the way it's told and the way it's done, I don't want to spoil it. It is fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough. It is truly, in the first issue, I was already like, holy shit, like that's terrifying. Like, so definitely recommend Nice House on the Lake. So
do you read a lot of horror comics?
I didn't until I got into Something's Killing the Children, and I mean, lately I've read a few more, but not really anything too crazy. No, not really as much as I'd like, I guess.
I haven't read a lot of horror stuff. The only kind of things that I've read that were horror was, arguably Locke and Key, which is incredible. Okay. Loved it. There is this it's kind of horror, but it's more so like a thriller, if you will. The Wake, which is it's about mermaids. Okay. Now that sounds crazy, but it's like a 10 issue run on Vertigo before Vertigo.
That's actually Scott Snyder.
Yes, it's Scott Snyder. Yeah. It is so cool, man. And there's time jumps in the future, goes to the past, and it all comes together. I would recommend, and since it's only 10 issues, you can get it on a compendium, really, a trade paperback, and just kill it. Yeah, it's really good.
That's the thing about Something's Killing Children too. If you ever check that out, it's a real quick read. Each issue is quick to read through. So sorry, what's up? You're forgetting you did used to read horror. We still, I believe you still have it. The Necromancer cover of Army of Darkness. So I actually that Army of Darkness, Shop Till You Drop. I think that was that I one, or Ashes to Ashes. So that comic is a error comic. It halfway through the comic it restarts. Somehow I never got the full issue. Halfway through the comic it just restarts. I don't know if it was a printer error or something, but my Dude,
do you have it?
Yeah, I still have it.
You better seal that thing up.
Those error
comics, they go for a lot of money.
I know, and the only reason why I don't know if it really is going to go for a lot is because, for one, I've not been able to find a single thing on it, and for two, it wasn't a super popular comic, so I'm not sure how much it'll actually go for. But no, trust me, I've got it tucked away. There wasn't very many copies made of it. No, but that could be a good thing, Yeah. So all right, so Drew, like I said, I know we're running a little long here, but Drew, if you want to go ahead, what you I'll make this quick. Okay. All right. So Jupiter's Legacy got canceled. Okay.
I addressed it on my show yesterday. Do
you mind if I say, because you guys have the app, right?
Yeah.
So if anybody ever wants to check out Drew's show, it's just called The Drew Show, and it's on New Rock 104.1. They do have an app, so anybody in the country can listen to it. Now he usually runs 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. roughly
6 to 10 Monday through Friday. It's like a traditional morning show kind of a deal, but we talk a lot about nerd shit and I kind of get to cuss here, so it's great. I can't cuss on the app, but
well, that's one of the reasons I love listening to you guys. Is you guys have a nerdy side to you, and a lot of radio hosts don't.
Just pull out the cock, ball, shit, damn.
Yeah, all the good stuff, all the classic hits. Jupiter's Legacy. So I read Jupiter's Legacy. There's two different kind of not spin-offs but iterations of the story.
I saw that. It's like Jupiter's Legacy and Jupiter's
Circle.
Thank you.
Circle. So Jupiter's Legacy was a quick, I think it's only 6 issues if I'm not mistaken. It was a quick run. It takes
two volumes, so maybe 12 issues.
Maybe 12.
I don't know, we'll see.
I can't remember because it was so long ago. It was literally 13 years ago, but it was it was short read. But the problem was that it would take forever. And I mean 3.5 months in between issues on this story. And it sucked, but you were brought in, you were sucked in really early on this thing. But the comic is great. I recommend everyone checking out Jupiter's Legacy. Jupiter's Circle is kind of like a backstory to it. Yes, right there. It's very good. The show I skipped past because everything that I saw on it, I was like,
okay. I watched the first 10 minutes of the first episode and was immediately like, wow, this is cheesy. It's
it's bad.
I never finished it. I never even finished the first episode.
It is bad. It is hot garbage. But the problem with it is, even it being so hot garbagey, I was still seeing moments of potential greatness in it. And I was like, if they had different showrunners and they use their budget a little bit better, because there's a lot of scenes of them just landing in off camera, you know what I mean? So they're not really using
money a little bit,
wasted money, or they put all their money in one place. It needed to have a little bit more respect. And Netflix, which I'm so confused about, Netflix is really good about letting people stretch and getting people to do these properties that absolutely love them. And The show is not even close to, I mean, it is, I guess, with some broad strokes as far as what the story's about, but it's nothing like what the comic is. I'd say skip Jupiter's Legacy. It won't be hard because they canceled it because it's so bad. All right, they canceled it, but go back and read the comic because the comic is seriously fantastic. It's really, really good. But yeah, that show, if you want to laugh at something being so bad, like the dialogue is terrible, the writing's terrible.
Okay,
I'm just like,
I'm not gonna lie, before the show, when you had talked about that you were gonna talk about this, I was kind of like, man, do I have to watch this so that I can do the research on it? Because like I kind of don't want to.
No.
I kept telling for the past few episodes that I was gonna watch it so I can give a review on it, and I couldn't get through it. The first 10 minutes,
Yep, and I watched. It's the first scene where it's like, it's the kid, one of the kids.
Yeah,
there's a bad guy. One of the kids comes in, he gets his ass beat, and then Josh Duhamel or whatever his name is shows up and saves his ass, basically.
And first of all, the old people makeup on them is so jarring.
Oh my god,
it's so jarring. And then the dialogue in that scene alone is when I knew it was going to be super hot trash. When it was like people robbing an armor truck, and they're like, "We're robbing this shit, bitch!" Like that was literally the dialogue. And then she's like, "No, I'm robbing this shit, bitch." And I'm like, it is so incredibly bad and acted bad, you know. But like I said, if you get through the first couple of episodes, you see shining moments of brilliance that could have worked. They just mishandled the property, and I almost wish that they would give it a second season with completely new director, completely new showrunner to try to salvage it, because it has potential.
They picked up like the villains, right? Didn't they do something like that? They're called like something crooks or something like that. Like,
oh wait, the super villains and
because that's what that's what they did, is they canceled this one but picked up a show for the villains.
Really?
Or something to that effect. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't read that. I just read
like super crooks or some shit like that. I'll have to Google it, but that's what I had heard. So skip the show, huh?
Skip the show, read the comic. It's fantastic.
So I'll definitely check out the comic. And like I said, I want to say when I looked it up, there was 2 volumes. I think it's 6 issues a piece. I believe it's 12 issues. I believe, not 100% of that. So I'll have to check it out. But all right. Well, is that it, Drew?
That's all I got. That's all I'm bringing to the table, boys.
No, dude, and that's cool.
It's usually a go back and forth, man, on subjects. So like, there's not really there's a set 1, 2, 3 set, but outside of that,
Super Crooks. Okay, Super Crooks, Miller World Series ordered as Jupiter's Legacy was cut.
Super Crooks. Hold on. Jesus Christ, man.
Right.
The problem is, it was evident that they wanted it to be like they're the boys, right,
and that's what I think is like. I think they were like, well, maybe if we go with the villains, it'll be more like the boys.
But it's like it's like hard PG-13, you know,
right?
Like
as opposed to going
gore,
full R.
You just gotta really lean into it, man, and like just say fuck it, just go. And again, it's about appealing to a PG-13 crowd.
But at the same time, I love that nowadays things are proving that doesn't always have to be the case. No. Deadpool, love the hat, by the way.
Yep. Yeah.
Deadpool, though. And I mean, they talked to like, apparently if he appears in an MCU movie, they're okay with him appearing in a movie as PG, but the Deadpool movies themselves are still going to be rated R.
Which, first of all, brilliant decision. I have a theory about this, and we can test if this theory is going to be legit or not. So Marvel, I don't even know if they still have it, but they did like their version of Vertigo, like the subsidiary kind of publication of adult graphic novels, whereas Vertigo was to DC. Marvel Max was to Marvel. And I bet you $1 million, X-Force, Deadpool, anything that can be an R-rated property will be produced as a Marvel Max property.
And that's the only reason I'm kind of worried about Blade, because to me, Blade is
an R-rated movie.
I mean, in my opinion, it should be. Now, I'm not going to say I'm not going to watch it, because I mean, you can't. I will sit here and say this through and through. I'm a hardcore DC fan to the bone, but like, you can't deny what Marvel did with their movies. You just can't deny the cinematic universe that they built. So I don't think I've ever missed one of their movies, because it's just like, even if they're only okay, the fact that you're watching it as part of this bigger universe is it's just unbelievable.
It works. They did the same kind of tie in and come in and come out. But see, that's also where Marvel kind of fails. Like if you look at the latest run of X-Men, well, not latest run, but a couple years ago, they did the House of X, Powers of X run with Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah.
Kind of rebooted the whole way you look at X-Men comics.
Heard about it and saw him, but never actually read him.
It's incredible. Mm-hmm. And I'm not being like a fanboy here. It's fucking incredible what Hickman did to set up the rest. But then the moment that the House of X, Powers of X run was done, they immediately went into Joe Quesada fucking buy this book and this issue and this one, and it's too much.
Right.
It's like just focus on the storyline, man. Yes. It's like I'm not gonna go buy like $80.
That's why I hate these events. Whenever they do the events, like the latest one I think they did was the King in Black, where Venom was a huge part of it. I honestly didn't read any of it. I heard that the core King in Black story was really good, actually. Yeah. But all those expanded things, you had to buy Spider-Man, you had to buy Thor, you had to buy Hulk, you had to buy Iron Man, you had to buy it all to get the full story. And I'm just clear, like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to do that.
I'm not saying don't support the comics industry. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that,
no, of course,
$300 and something to follow only a 12-issue run between 5 different series. It's a little much. Like, I'm gonna wait for like the last event that they did, the X of Swords event that they did. I'm gonna wait until that's they have a compendium out or a trade paperback of it, and then I'm just gonna go buy it because I like, get lost
because that one actually compiles the other issues of other things too, which is nice. It's puts it all in one thing. But yeah, all I was trying to say was that the industry, I do think it's great that stuff like Deadpool, stuff like Game of Thrones, The Boys, Invincible, even Walking Dead. Granted, it's on network television, so they can't go full R, but even the gore and blood factor, like it. I do love that they're starting to show that you don't always have to go with that PG-13. Like, of course, you'll reach a wider audience, but you'll still get those core fans, those hardcore fans who are fucking gonna watch even if it's rated R,
Josh, I don't know if you picked up on this. You did nod your head when I did too, but when he dropped the Marvel Max series,
talking about Marvel Knights?
No, Marvel Max. That's when the Punisher. That's my favorite story arc of his, was when they released him on Max Comics, man. That was so brutal. I remember the very first issue, he bumps out of a coffin and lays out with 2 machine guns and destroys the entire mafia, man. Like, I'm all down for that stuff. And actually, I still have,
that's why I like Berserker.
My favorite Deadpool story arc that I have is when I actually still have the first run. I think I have like the first 25 or 30 issues of the Cable Deadpool story. When they combined, man, that was some funny ass shit. It was really good.
But that's why I like Boom Studios. I think we talked about, because I was saying how I like Image Comics and Boom Studios. Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah, are you reading that? Are you reading this?
Yes. Oh yeah.
All right, is it good?
It's amazing.
Or is it like cheese dig but self-aware? That's fine. That's fine.
But I think it's still done well. The other writer. I mean, it's Keanu and another writer, because I'm sure it's because nothing against Keanu, but he probably doesn't have a whole lot of writing experience, so they have another writer in there. But dude, I'm talking, there are scenes where fists are going through heads, you see eyeballs exploding out.
Oh, dude, I gotta buy it.
Oh, it's brutal. And then they've only released 2 issues. 3rd issue's coming, I think, next week. So definitely another recommendation. But the first issue is just seeing him unleashed and what he could just tear people apart. Like, and then the 2nd issue kind of goes in the backstory of why he's this like crazy immortal war machine, basically.
I'm down.
But it's brutal, dude. It is so hardcore R-rated. And I love that because I that's one of those marketing things. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people were just like, holy shit, Keanu Reeves. I'm gonna check this out. Keanu Reeves. And then they're like, what did I just get myself into?
And it's funny that he's so kind, but he does these like super
so brutal movies.
Yeah, no, it's dope.
All right, well, if that's it from Drew, then Matt, what you gonna be talking about today, bro?
Well, I was gonna talk about MODOK, but man, I've been sick all damn day. That's awesome.
Look at that, Drew.
What?
That's pretty freaking cool.
Fist through some dude's head right there. It's brutal, dude.
Oh, I love it.
So brutal. but it's good. I mean, I think it's good. I think that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to drift off here, but
good,
no, I think it's good. I think the second issue, the first issue was really just to showcase this is how brutal we're gonna make it, and then the second issue is more of a going into the backstory, and I think the backstory has been pretty good. Now again, it's only 2 issues, so I don't know. I don't want to say it's great yet,
right?
But it's been good. It's been good. Sorry.
Oh, so, they're gonna do a live action property with that. I mean, that was
one
kind
of the reasons
like,
I just jumped the hell on it, because I was like, dude, it's Keanu Reeves. If he's even associated with it, I think it's gonna sell. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna jump on it just in case. So.
I was gonna watch and talk about MODOK, but I've been super sick this week. So
now I will say I watched that first episode, Matt.
Dude,
what was the quote? What was the quote? Okay,
here's the quote. I wrote it down.
It's Patton Oswalt. First of all, it's Patton Oswalt. Which it's gonna be funny.
Yeah. So it's definitely mature too. So it says, MODOK says, you can't put a mental condom on the horse penis that is my mind.
The horse dick. He actually says horse dick. On the horse dick that is my mind. And
I mean, dude, as soon as he said that, I was sold. Whether you're a fan of Robot Chicken or not, man, like I think it looks really good. In the first 2 episodes I've seen, it's really good. So I'm going to talk about that next time. But so the second to last episode of Fear the Walking Dead is going to air tomorrow. It's called like
I get special early access.
I know, right? It's like the Tennessee sub or something like that. It's the military name of the sub. That's the name of the episode. But the first thing that I want to say is like one of the really cool things to me on Fear the Walking Dead, and they do it in The Walking Dead too, here recently, is that the opening scenes of the title have been really good. And this one in particular is one of my favorites because it pops up Fear the Walking Dead and you hear the down now. But it's got a really the big ass sub in the background and Morgan standing by. It's just very cool. And then Fear in the Walking Dead is in red, like in blood. And I don't think that they've done that at all this season. So some of the things that stand out from this episode to me is that the Colt has the key. The Doomsday Cult has the key, and they're going to try to shoot this nuclear missile out of this wash ashore nuclear sub. And you've got the 3 groups, which is Victor's group, Morgan's group, and Sherry's group that are going there to try to stop them. Well, there's a lot of trying to maneuver inside this sub, and I really like the claustrophobia that it builds because you're in these tight quarters. It's all dark. You've got these random zombies that are coming out. They have got to have their Geiger counter.
There's zombies in the sub.
So it's the crew. The crew is dead.
But it's a washed ashore sub, you said, right? It's not. They're not all underwater or.
No. It's a washed ashore. It's on shore. Okay. But the crew that was inside the sub are zombies.
Yeah, that would be pretty terrifying. Close quarters like that.
Well, on top of that, but the other part that's terrifying about that is that they have to have this Geiger counter out to make sure that they're not. They're not full of radiation.
Right. Yeah. Okay. It's a nuclear sub.
Yeah. Right. So in this Doomsday Cult, he's really like the leader's a Jim Jones meets Charles Manson type. He does a very good job on portraying this character to where he's just nuts. He wants to destroy the surface world and basically create a new society underground.
I love it.
I mean,
it's so comic book, dude.
Right. See, that's what I do like about this is I felt like I always wanted Kirkman to, like, I know he did some of those. Here's Negan and the Governor, but like I wanted him to kind of. I would have loved I would love just like a Commonwealth comic, something like that.
That's why I like Fear, because it's not the comic. Like,
that's kind of getting at. They're
brand new
fresh
material.
Yeah, fresh material. Yeah,
and especially in the past 2 seasons, they've gotten a lot better with their writing. But so you've got these. It ends up being Victor and Morgan that are going deeper into the sub, and there's a back and forth on. They get to a point where there's radiation beyond where they need to go, and they kind of go back and forth on who's going to go. But they end up getting there like 2 seconds too late, and they launch the fucking nuke.
Oh shit!
Right, and that's how the episode ends. And I thought it was.
Oh shit!
I thought it was the season ender, but it's not. They do have one more episode because they kept teasing massive deaths at the end of this season. And so the thing that stands out at the end though too is that the leader of the cult asks his second command, "Okay, how many targets did you pick?" and he said, well, there's 10 warheads in the missile, so they're going to go here, there, a little bit everywhere.
Shit.
And like, yeah, so
10 nukes.
Yeah, well, 10 warheads inside this missile, and so like in theory, it's going to obliterate everything around them. So now there's this countdown, and the preview of the next episode, which is last episode of the season, leads to, it really looks like at least one of these communities is going to get hit. So you have 3 big main communities in this story.
Somebody's gonna get fucked.
Somebody's gonna get obliterated by this nuke, because I mean, it went off. I honestly didn't, given everything that Kirkman does about, it never ends on a good note, or what you think's going to happen never happens. The good guy doesn't always win. I didn't think that they were going to be able to set off the nuke, but they fucking got it off.
Right.
And I'll give it to the show's producers, man. It's been back and forth. Yeah, it's been back and forth. They killed a fucking baby. I mean, they didn't even show Lori and Judith dying in the main show.
No.
So like, I'll give it to the Fear writers that they've got balls. Like they lead you.
Well, and I think that's partially like they saw that The Walking Dead got as big as it is, and so they were like, you know what, with Fear, we'll kind of let you kind of do a little
shots.
More. Yes, because that way, if it doesn't work out, well, we still got The Walking Dead. So
I got a question, because I haven't watched The Walking Dead since season 4, and I didn't watch any Fear. Would you say like The Walking Dead is more about, like how we talked about earlier, the zombies are in, like, it's more about the people, the zombies are in the background, whereas maybe Fear is more about the direct zombie threat, like handling that? Is that, or is it just another iteration of?
I think it's another iteration of Walking Dead. So like, you start with the zombies being the threat, and then it grows into the people being the threat.
Right.
I think we're at that point
anyway.
Yeah, so. And I think that's where we're at that point. But the thing that I like best about it is that you get these new threats, these threats that weren't in the comic. It's like an expansion of, okay, so everything in The Walking Dead's happening mainly on the East Coast. What's going on in the middle of the country? What's going on the west of the country? And so Fear started in the West Coast, went down to Mexico, and now it's kind of like just west of the Rocky Mountains. And there's a really cool scene 2 seasons ago where they have to fucking get this plane flying to get it over the mountains, because once again there was a bomb or something going off, and it blew up. They barely made it over. Like, I like it. There was a couple of bad seasons. There were a couple of bad choices. There's only like 2 characters from the first season that are still left in it, which I actually like that. But the actor who played Nick wanted to leave, and he was the main character. He was the best character. Well, him and his mom. But like, I like it because it's like an extension. It's like okay, you got, like I said, Walking Dead's East Coast story. This is more of a West Coast / middle of the country kind of story, and I like it because it contains the core idea of The Walking Dead and expands on it.
See, I like that idea. I like that idea. That sounds good.
But I will admit that there's some bad points, especially earlier on. But I feel like the past couple of seasons they've gotten a lot better.
And but I heard that. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I've heard that from other people, that it starts off kind of okay, but from what I've heard, it gets better and better throughout it. Like it's gotten better through later seasons.
I was just gonna say I love comic book logic, how it plays out. Like when you don't need an explanation, that the fact that the villain wants to like nuke everyone and have a utopia underneath the ground.
Like,
I'm like, okay, fuck yes. I'm like, that is so comic book logic. And I'm like, oh, I'm so in on that.
Well, and to this day, I think one of the best things Kirkman ever did was never tell you what happened, never tell you why it started, never tell you where it fucking came from. For all we know, it could be aliens. And actually, that's one thing I'm super pumped for. That's one thing I'm super pumped for, though, is there is an alternate comic called Rick Grimes 2000 that was like talked about in his post stuff in one of the issues, and now there's a comic called Skybound X coming out because this is the 10th anniversary of Skybound starting, and he's straight doing a Rick Grimes 2000. So the picture is Rick Grimes holding a fucking lightsaber with like a robot arm fighting off hordes of zombies. I cannot wait. I cannot wait, because it's like, I love that he's just like, you know what, fuck it, let's go over the top. Let's go crazy with it.
Oh, and that's kind of like the artistic license that you have when you're making these properties. And again, it's either really going to work or really not going to work. But as a comic book reader, you just tend to accept things as they are. It's like in Invincible, right? Invincible, you know why he has his powers, right?
Right.
Like, you know that like it's a lineage thing, but there's so many superpower, yeah. And there's so many superpower people and scenarios and like other races around them. And there's a fucking lion, Battle Beast, dude. It's like
Battle Beast is actually my favorite character
and
in the book and the show.
He's a powerhouse, and it really, you don't need to really know the intricacies of how these people got powers. It just they exist.
He loves war. He loves to fight. That's his whole thing. And he's like, well, if you're not strong enough to fight me, so I'm out.
Exactly. And I love that idea that you don't really need a convoluted explanation as to why all these things exist. They just exist. So what? Just accept it.
Yeah, and then I know I tend to talk about a bunch of pop culture stuff, and so the big thing on my radar over the past few months in general, and Josh is somewhat
Drew, you probably know about this too.
Has been Dogecoin.
And so it's a little off the nerd topic, but still,
well, I think it's still on the nerd topic because
that's true. Because
you see a bunch of video
who fucking made it.
Well, there's a bunch of video game streamers that talk about it. It's the millennials, it's the younger people. You know, the common phrase now is Bitcoin is boomer. So whenever a big rich Bitcoin person talks shit about Doge, oh, you're just a fucking Bitcoin boomer.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm really deep into Doge, and I really love the community and everything like that. So like there's been a lot of really big news happen this past week. So Elon Musk started off with breaking up with Dogecoin breaking up with Bitcoin, and the whole world lost their minds and all that stuff. And it's funny because
Bitcoin dropped, I want to say like 15 grand or something like that.
Well, that was when he announced that Tesla wasn't
no longer taking it. Yeah.
So, but then in response, a few hours later, I'm gonna butcher his name, Vitalik Buterin. He is the creator of Ethereum. Ethereum is the number 2, so it goes Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then kind of everybody else is battling for third. And Ethereum's at like $2,700 a share right now.
Right.
He came out and he was at an event and he said that he loves Dogecoin and wants to do a Dogecoin Ethereum collaboration to scale Dogecoin up. Now, the crazy thing about that is, like, we were all looking forward to Dogecoin when it goes to Coinbase, that it was going to skyrocket up. Well, when it went to Coinbase, there was 2 problems that happened. Number one, the U.S. said that they were going to look into the role of cryptocurrency on these blackmail scams. So if you've been under a freaking rock for the last few weeks, so there was an oil pipeline down south. There was a meat processing plant and a healthcare facility in San Diego that were all blackmailed by presumably Russians, but it could have been other entities too. And the way that they got paid off was using cryptocurrency. So the US came out and said, we're going to investigate, right as Coinbase announced that they were going all in on Doge and coming out with Doge. So it kind of fluctuated the price and everything. But once Vitalik said this, man, like that's huge news, because if Doge can even get to 10% of Ethereum's price by working together, that's $270 a share.
Dude, we're all buying Lambos.
10, 20 grand. Dude, I when I first heard about Doge, I threw in about $100, I'd say, on it, and I think I got 775 shares.
So I put in $200 when it was 4 cents. Okay.
Shit, so I got in about 7 cents or 8 cents. So
I could have bought Ethereum at $7 a share. Yeah. And I didn't, because I was like, fuck that, years ago. And I was like, this is nothing. Kicking my own ass. So of course I jumped on the Doge.
Right. I've got 2 stories on that. So first off, me and a group of 4 other coworkers were going to buy $1,000 worth each of Bitcoin when this was like at $1 or even less than $1.
Oh God.
Yeah, and we didn't. And ever since then, I've kicked myself. That's one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life.
I can do it now.
But with Doge, so I bought my brand new fucking $2,000 computer gaming streaming setup because of Doge. I had a goal in mind. I wanted to make $2,000 or $1,500 to $2,000 to get this whole setup. I am kicking myself because I had 24,000 shares at 4 cents.
Oh my God.
If I would have kept that at 79 cents at the highest that it was, I wouldn't have sold then, but that was 20 grand.
Yeah.
So I'm all in still on Doge. I still have some shares in it. But so they made that announcement. The Ethereum CEO, co-creator, made that announcement. So then like an hour after that, Jack Dorsey, who's the CEO of Twitter, who I fucking can't stand. The guy's a douchebag. So he comes out and says, well, I'm all in on Bitcoin, and calls Ethereum and Doge just phony piles of shit, basically. So I text Josh yesterday in response to that. I said, man, I think I'm going to be put in Twitter jail. He said, why? I said, I sent him a picture. So I went on Jack's Facebook page or on his Twitter page, and I said,
okay,
go for Doge, you fucking boomer, or something like that. And so, like the Federal Reserve came out with this quote. This is what I'm going to end my Doge talk on. So they said that this is an actual quote from somebody in government. They're saying that they want to allow all the investors to Dogecoin to their heart's content. So it's crazy that a coin that was made as a meme in 2013 is now even being talked about on the highest government levels. And if you think that it's not worth anything, well, first off, now that it's on Coinbase, I can go and spend my actual Doge on anything that accepts Coinbase payment. So you can buy stuff now with Doge. But on top of that, they were saying the same thing about Bitcoin, 15 years ago. It's not worth anything. It's never going to be worth anything. Right. Those same people who eventually made millions on Bitcoin are now saying the same thing about Doge.
Right. Because they don't want to see the new guy come up.
Right. Well, and I'm not a financial advisor. But if you have a couple extra $100,
oh yeah,
get into it, man.
So my plan on this, because I check my stupid thing every single day. I'm just interested in where it's going. Yeah. This dumb thing. I'm like, all right. The way I look at it right now, I'm sitting on, I think it's like a little over 3,000 shares. Okay. Nice. Is what I got. So I'm like, if it ever gets to $100 a share, I'm going to sell 1,000 shares of it. And I'm just going to not touch the rest of it to see how high it can go.
Right. And you see, that's the difference between the Doge community and the Bitcoin community. Everybody who's in the Dogecoin community has said that exact same thing. Once it gets to a certain dollar amount, I'll sell 10%, I'll sell 30%. But like the biggest name in Doge right now is there's this Doge millionaire out there. And he has come out and said, I didn't sell any when I was at 79, and he's shown, dude, he's lost, $1 million when it dropped. He's come out, he's got a YouTube channel and everything, but he has come out and said, I'm going to, at the beginning of 2022, I'm going to sell 10%. So that way I have money and I can cover the corporate tax, because he's got like $2-3 million still in it.
Right.
And so, like, that's the difference between the two communities. I feel like the Bitcoin community is now starting to become like the higher class, and they look down on everybody else. And that's why you see things like Doge, AMC, GameStop. This is the younger generation saying, fuck you. Right. You can sit there and try to keep us out of Wall Street, but we're going to take the fucking thing over. And so while I would give pause and make sure that you be careful with GameStop and AMC. I'm telling you, put $200 in Doge at 33 cents. That's even a lot of shares.
Cents, yeah.
Even and it's $200.
And even if you make like, let's say it always stays stagnant, really doesn't go anywhere, but you make like 10 grand off a $200 investment. That's incredible.
Right. You're still making 10 fucking grand off a $200 investment.
Incredible.
Yes.
That's incredible, dude.
See, and that was my thing. I first got into it at like 7 or 8 cents, something like that. And it actually dipped down at first. It went down to like 5 or 4. And I was kind of sitting here like, fuck, man. I kept looking at the thing, and almost every day it was negative. And I kept sitting here like, should I just drop out? Should I just do it? And I said, no, screw it. I'll stick with it. And suddenly
Well, and you're one of those that is like, man, should I sold some when Elon was on SNL? Right. And I'm like, I'm telling you, man, like,
give it time.
Just give it time, because especially if they actually are able to do the Ethereum, that's okay. So as big as I told you Coinbase was going to be, the Coinbase listing, the Ethereum thing is huge. Right. If they're able to do a collaboration,
yeah.
Ethereum's $2,700 fucking a share.
Right.
Like if they're able to scale that. And here's the thing: that guy Vitalik, the creator and CEO, he has already come out and said that Doge could be number 3 or possibly even overtake Ethereum as the number 2 cryptocurrency in the world. And I mean, there's been all types of negatives that have brought the thing down. China banning cryptocurrency. They do that every other year. They try to pull that shit so that their investors could get in at a lower price. Like, listen to me. Anybody who's listening out there, fucking put $200 in the damn thing.
Yeah, don't go blowing your money on it, but if you have a little bit to spare, hop in on it.
Don't put your savings in. I've already made $2,000 off of it simply so I can get my computer. Had I have listened to my own fucking advice, I would have had 20 plus K. So just put what you can afford into it, but sit on it. Don't sell it. Wait, set yourself a goal. Hey, like what Drew was saying. Yeah. Hey, once it gets to this dollar amount, I'm going to sell 1/3 of it, or I'm going to sell 10% of it, whatever. But it's going to keep going up. The way that this momentum is, man, it's bigger than Bitcoin was when it was out, so yeah.
All right.
So next week, next episode, I will say I am going to watch MODOK, and I'm going to talk about MODOK. So if you get a chance, MODOK.
That's what I was going to say. Is next episode, I watched a few movies I forgot to mention. I was going to talk about. I watched Raya and the Last Dragon, and I also watched Chaos Walking with Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley.
Me and Josh are going to talk about Quiet Place too. So because he's coming to Indy. So
yes, starting on Monday, I'm going to Indy to take a trip out to see the fam.
Josh, you need to tell Drew about your Roman wipes.
Oh,
you need to do your pitch right now. Do the email. Do the email.
Well, hold on. I'll wrap that up. When we real quick though, Drew, did you watch Army of the Dead?
No. Oh, wait. Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead. The one on Netflix. Zack Snyder.
No.
I think it's worth to check out. It's over the top crazy zombie action. But I know you're not huge into zombies, right? It's very Snyder. Very Snyder.
Is it Dave Bautista's in that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Which when you first hear about the story, you're like, and then you hear Dave Bautista, you're like,
we talked about that one. Yeah, we talked about that last episode.
It's good.
It turns out pretty good. I thought it was good. But yeah, next episode I'm gonna talk Raya and the Last Dragon and Chaos Walking. Spoiler alert: Chaos Walking sucked.
Oh, that's sad.
With Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland, I thought it was gonna be a lot better. Let me just say it that way. I thought it was gonna be a lot better. But yeah. All right. Well, one thing I will say, as always, thank you guys, whoever is listening. Thank you for checking us out, for listening to us. If you get the chance, go to www.thecowsden.com. We've got my blog for comic reviews on there. We've got links to everything, social media, links to email if you need to contact me, which we're going to try this again today.
For the love of God, send him one email. I want to hear the Roman wipes commercial.
No, we had a thing where we tried to run a thing where if we got 5 people to send me an email requesting that I do this pitch, Matt wants me to get a sponsor for us, and
a specific sponsor
is Roman wipes, which are dick wipes. They help to lower your sensitivity. You rub them on your dick before you start, and then you last longer. And I only learned that from this show, so I refuse to Google it because I don't want my Google search.
So you're saying I can go from 25 seconds to a minute and 25 seconds?
Oh yeah,
25 to 35.
Drew gets it, Josh. Drew gets it.
But no, if we get enough people, if you guys want to actually have me, I will gladly promote that if we get enough people asking for it. And I'm not even going to ask. Honestly, I'll probably just promote it without asking them to pay me for it. I'll just promote it just for the fun of it. But yes, I'm also still running a giveaway. Yep. Whoever wants a Walking Dead, I don't have it in front of me. Walking Dead, the Governor action figure. He's from the Lucille Corps action figure.
Amazing. It's amazing. It's really well done.
It's modeled like the old school G.I. Joe figures. But it's the Governor. He's decked out in some gear. Whoever wants whoever wants it, just shoot me an email with your name and address, and I'll send it out to you as a giveaway. I think that's going to wrap it up, though, guys. As always, like I said, thank you guys so much for listening. I have noticed that we've started getting a little more listeners each time, so I appreciate all of you and take the time to actually listen to us. So, and thank you so much, Drew, for coming on today, man.
Absolutely,
really
my pleasure.
It. And Matt, screw you. You suck. I hate you. So
eat my ass. I'm gonna tongue punch your fart box.
You know what's funny is it looked like I thought you specifically you like froze for just a split second. I thought you were trying to be like eat my ass.
But hey, you're gonna be here on Tuesday and you're gonna tongue punch my fart box.
I'm not going to do that even a little bit. So all right, well, thank you guys so much for listening. Later.